Hey guys, it is the first day of week 2. It's Monday, and as promised, I will now be taking on the terrifying task of learning color theory. I say that word like I know what it means, but I don't. All I know is, let's see, I learned shape last week. I gotta learn about coloring, right? I'm too scared to like color anything right now. I also just want to say thank you for the support on the last video. This morning we watched it live as a premiere on YouTube, and I was just very warmed in my heart to see how kindly excited people were to either just watch it. Specifically, there were a lot of people who were saying, I've tried to learn art in the past, I've wanted to, and have experienced the same sort of like mental hurdles. So I hope it was encouraging. I feel really encouraged just from like the feedback I was getting from artists saying that I, had made good progress, especially for our first week. Also, quick note, there are a couple people asking for links to the video that I watched, all the videos and resources. Everything that I watched, all of my resources, my practice sheets, and my finished pieces are all gonna be in the description. So I'm gonna stream, we're gonna watch color theory videos, and then, I don't know, we're just gonna do it, I guess. I'm gonna be learning about color theory, which I don't even know how to define that word. But I guess we're gonna learn. This is called Understanding Color by Blender Guru. Wow, this video was a lot. I really felt like I was in school. It was a lot of concepts, probably a bit more intense than I was ready for, but I will give you the cliff notes and you can always find the links for the videos I watched in the description. The condensed version of these 2 videos that I watched was that color theory basically explores how the eye perceives color, what kind of reactions do different color combinations elicit in people, and how does that inform your art decisions. I took a lot of notes, but I'll condense it down into just a couple sentences. Color harmonies, basically color combinations. The first one is monochrome, which is essentially different saturations and brightness levels of one single color. Then there's color adjacent, which is 3 colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. And then there's complementary colors, which is probably the most popular. That's 2 colors on the opposite side of the spectrum that complement each other. And then there's the triadic, I believe. And these are 3 colors that are equidistant on the color wheel. Another really important topic we looked at was color meaning, general meaning that is assigned to each color. Red is passion and danger, orange is energy and creative, yellow is happy and active, black is death and power, green is nature and healing, blue is calm and wisdom, wealth, ambition is usually associated with purple, and white is associated with purity and peace. Okay, so I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on color theory. Color theory practice? How do you practice color theory? Make paintings by coloring, just by doing it. Find color palettes in Genshin characters. That sounds fun! Ayaka. We'll just go in order of how have them here. As a jeweler cherishes their gems, I see primarily blue, pink, and gold. So then I guess I'll just try to create a palette from what I can see. So I got working on the color palette. I essentially tried to pick out the most prominent colors that were present on Ayaka's outfit. Blue, yellow, or more like a gold, and then pink and red. I believe this falls into the double complementary category. Oh. Hey, that's pretty good. I grabbed the colors from the official art and I stuck a little line next to the color that I saw with the correct color. It went okay. Because the in-game model is different than the splash art. That one's really close. No, it's not.
Dear Diary,
I actually have a reason why the splash art can be a tad different.
Oh.
To put it bluntly, with the splash art, there is consideration to print since these get printed too. Screen/web colors will differ from print due to the different spectrum range.
Right, it's RGB versus CMYK. Okay, next time I will go from the splash art. I'll look at the splash art and I'll try to get the colors from there. I would say though, all things considered, not bad. The next day I had a pretty chill day. Me and Joshua went to get some coffee and I sketched the building. Not much color, obviously. I pretty much just focused on my sketching and getting my perspective right. A little bit of shadow here and there. And then the next day on stream, I repeated the process. You can see me here looking at Ningguang's color palette and trying to create it from eye and then comparing it to her in-game model. This is a summary of what I did. This was pretty tough, especially the characters that were more monochrome like Raiden and Kaya were pretty difficult because the shades were really specific. And I also discovered Genshin characters use a lot of colors. Ugh, I need a break. I need to draw something. You know what I want to draw is this. Yeah. So I started as usual. I really struggled to get the shape of the head. I tried a couple times. You like my eye? There it is. There's my finished piece, guys. Wow. As you can see, I started to get pretty discouraged. I obviously don't have the grasp that I need to have on shape, anatomy, to really mimic this image, so I almost gave up. But then someone in my chat recommended that I trace the outline of the original image, since the purpose of this was to practice coloring. That way I could make it a bit easier for myself and practice colors within those lines. To be completely honest, I still had really low expectations for myself. Did not think that even if I followed it to a T that it would look anything like how I wanted it to look. I don't know how to describe the elation that I felt when I removed the trace to see that it actually looked pretty good. Ah, she is! Okay, I'm starting to feel good about this. Obviously, it wasn't exactly like the original, which I think is a good thing, but the fact that it resembled the image and actually looked like an eye was so shocking to me. And again, I felt the barrier of entry to art being lowered a little bit more. So I worked a bit longer on it, got the other eye, and even you can see here how different the first eye and the second eye look. And then I spent some time on the hair as well. And again, genuinely shocked by how well this turned out. So I asked, so I can post this on Twitter? So I did. I was proud of what I'd accomplished that day. Obviously, I can't claim credit for the image itself because it was so heavily guided by the original screenshot that I took of the Ayaka video, but I still felt like I had accomplished something, and I think people knew for the most part that I was practicing color, at least the people who followed me. So here's where things got a little interesting. Pretty much as soon as I posted my work in progress, I got a couple DMs. 2 of them were just people kindly providing resources for me, and the third one was a message about tracing. I read over it briefly and I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of brushed it off. The essence of the message was, hey, I watched your stream, really good progress. Just want to give you a heads up about tracing, that it has a really bad reputation in the art community and is generally seen in a negative way, especially when you don't provide the reference photo. This weirdly left a bad taste in my mouth because I was so excited at what I'd accomplished. I almost felt like this message was taking me down a peg. So I took a deep breath and I went back into the message and I realized this person was really sweet, and they were genuinely just giving me a warning that tracing is a no-no. So I realized this and I responded. I thanked them for their message. Yes, thank you. I understand that tracing is not cool, especially with independent artists, and that I should definitely note under my tweet that, hey, this is from a original photo, and I traced it so that I could practice coloring, and that I'm not taking credit for this image as a whole. So I replied to my tweet with this tweet right here. It reads, by the way, the initial sketch is traced from the screenshot, so I could have a framework to work from while I am learning color. I checked back a couple hours later and I noticed a couple quote retweets, which usually 5 or 6 is not enough to make me nervous. But I checked it out and I found this quote retweet. Official art is still made by ... artists. I don't think they'd appreciate their art getting traced like that. I'm sorry, but what made you think that tracing official art would be okay? If you want to draw, learn from the basics? ? Someone responded and said, I mean, I wouldn't say it's completely okay, but it's understandable that she's trying to focus on coloring, and having a nice looking drawing feels better to work with, in my opinion, considering she's still working on her drawing skills. And it's not like she's claiming to draw it herself. This person replied, still, tracing isn't the best method you should try to learn color from. She could easily watch videos and tutorials about how to draw, and then she can color it in. IDK, what's so hard about that? Someone else replied, tracing is wrong in all contexts except practicing. However, common sense is that you do not post the practice art that you've traced. So what? She's still getting praise for the art where half of it isn't even hers. To be 100% honest with you guys, this was frustrating to hear. I'm sure you guys know the feeling, especially on a platform like Twitter. Now, this was only a couple replies, and it definitely left my heart pounding a little bit. My heart had kind of sunk into my stomach when I realized. So I took a couple deep breaths and I thought about it. And although this person's response was pretty juvenile, it made complete sense. In my excitement over what I had accomplished in terms of coloring, I posted this on Twitter, not really thinking about how many people would see this and not realize that this is basically a coloring page, that the original framework of this image is not mine. Therefore, I probably should not have posted it without context. Though it was only a couple people who really said something about it, it did really leave me thinking, and honestly, I was pretty discouraged. I even considered not finishing the piece because, as these people noted, it's not really mine. One of the hardest things about being a content creator is that as I'm growing and learning things and just growing as a person, I pretty much have to do that in front of everyone. And if I make a mistake, lots of people are gonna see it. This is something I've been thinking about a lot. For example, when I post a tweet, there are thousands of people who have their notifications on. As soon as my tweet leaves my fingers, it goes straight to their phones. So if I make a mistake, for example, if I spell a character's name wrong, even if I delete the tweet immediately, that mistake is permanently on the internet because people can screenshot it, and they do. As soon as I repost that tweet after correcting the mistakes, I see dozens of replies pointing out my mistake or even posting a screenshot. If I just misspell a character's name wrong, that's not a big deal, but that's a lot of pressure. If I make a bad mistake, thousands of people are gonna see it, even if it never hits the Twitter feed. There's a couple things that I'm taking away from this experience. One, I'm gonna make mistakes. As I'm learning art, I'm also learning art etiquette. I just simply don't know these things. I didn't know how serious tracing was, to the point that even if I was practicing something else, it was really important for me to notate that this was from a trace, or perhaps not even posted at all. It wasn't coming from a place of malicious intent. However, it still has a negative impact, and I just made a mistake. 2, ultimately, I'm responsible, even if I didn't know. And 3, I have to keep going. I said at the beginning of this that I'm not going to stop. Even if I decide at the end that I don't want to create art anymore, I am going to finish this series and I'm going to make it a year long. I've committed to it. I knew I was going to get discouraged on this journey, but I thought it was all going to come from inside my own head. But these are the woes of learning things in public, especially when you have a following. Thankfully, this didn't get too out of control. So, note taken, no tracing, and if I do trace, don't post it. But I'm still gonna finish this piece because I do like it. I think it's beautiful. I don't think I'll post it when I'm done. YouTube viewers, you'll see the finished product, but I don't think Twitter will. So I have this jacket that's been essentially sitting in my closet since I bought it. My main problem with it is that I typically don't know what to do with blue, but then I remembered what I learned about complementary colors, so I put my hand in the sleeve and basically just ran my hands over the array of long sleeve shirts that I had, and I remembered that orange is complementary to blue. These ended up looking quite nice together. And I also found this pink, which would have looked good as well as a more color adjacent option. And I threw on my New Balances to really complete the color palette. It is 9:02 on Thursday night. I finally have a moment to myself. Me and Joshua both have been running around like crazy because we have our first coffee catering event tomorrow. But I have a little bit of time tonight, so I have 2 things that I want to accomplish. I've been working on an Omori artwork. Forewarning, heavy spoilers if you haven't played. I also need to make a thumbnail for Joshua.
It's gonna be a Valorant thumbnail, so it should be cool. This weekend, I got a bunch of content creator friends coming in. I'll have to do the self-portrait on Saturday or something like that. Yeah, busy day, but I'm still gonna make it happen. Gotta practice, no progress, so.
For the Valorant thumbnail, I didn't do much other than basically just moving around pieces. I rarely do ASMR, but I just love the way the pencil sounds on the tablet. But I did end up getting a pretty nice thumbnail, especially just compared to what I was able to do before this. I already felt like I had a better understanding of how to make the focal point pop and how to just make a thumbnail not only look aesthetically pleasing, but also look professional and respectable enough to, you know, get someone to click. And here's what the thumbnail ended up looking like. Not perfect, but better. And here's me taking a Genshin break because I was tired. This is your formal spoiler warning. I'm going to be showing the Omori artwork that I worked on. If you don't want to see it, skip to... Alright, let's talk about this Omori artwork. One thing I was nervous about was drawing the figures. You can actually see me using a mock golden ratio to try to figure out a good body placement for Sunny. I'll spare you this, a lot of lines, and here's my sketch work from the headspace. I tried to outline and stylize the body, but I ended up giving up. This is over the course of a couple days. I felt like I just couldn't nail it down, so I stepped back and I got back to it the next day. So here's me the next day working on that figure finally. It took a long time. I was really zoomed in, a lot of small details, but overall I'm happy with how it turned out. You'll see me here in just a second actually move Sunny. I was dissatisfied with the composition of this photo and I felt like Sunny didn't have enough emphasis. So I realized I could just move him to the center and basically have his legs coming out of the building. I also changed it from a black outline to like a faded blue and made it a little thinner because I thought it matched the composition of the piece a little bit more. And I will show you the finished piece at the end. All right, here's my self-portrait. Maybe I should go for less realistic. I should make a color palette actually. I want to go for monochrome. So I started off with the color palette, pretty simple. I didn't end up sticking to it though. This was an uphill battle, to be honest. I really did not feel confident in what I was working on. The face felt weird, the hair felt weird, but I just decided to push through and come back to those features later. I'm feeling very nervous about the self-portrait, but I'm doing my best. The eyes look kind of creepy. Okay, full send. It looks bad, it looks bad. It's fine. I could just go Omori style with the eyes. I'm straying away from my perfectionism. This was really important for me. I am such a perfectionist that I think in any other context, I might have just put the pen down and given up. But I decided that's not an option. I am going to finish it, and it's okay if it doesn't look great. Well, maybe I'll do some different colors. I'm trying to get more comfortable with the idea of it, just how to not, it doesn't have to be realistic. I know that, but I kind of didn't know that, you know? I'm done. My first unrealistic portrait. I feel creatively stretched by this one because I'm not all that comfortable with my first time taking any creative license and doing what I wanted to. It's cool how different it is from your first self-portrait. Yeah, it is really different. This would be color adjacent, right? Yellow, orange, red. Yeah. So color adjacent or something along those lines. Almost monochrome. Progress. It's simple. Real simple, but I think the composition is good on this one. Good progress. And that's what this is about, right? Progress. I learned a lot this week. I learned to be patient with myself. I learned to not take myself too seriously, to let myself stray off of the path a little bit, and also just to not get discouraged, and honestly just to push through even when I'm unsure about something. I'm gonna be honest, guys, it's really late when I'm recording this audio, and I'm gonna be gone for the next 2 days, so I kind of had to rush through this last bit of the video, but I think I want to learn about composition next week.
Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see the next episode, and I'll see you guys soon. And good luck on whatever you're working on.